Coming up on the Lifestyle.org podcast.
Ongoing dehydration is linked with dementia. But if you are living an anti-Alzheimer's lifestyle, it might be many more years before it hits you. I thought, oh man, I'm going to really miss balsamic vinegar. But then I thought, I might also miss Alzheimer's. So, there's really no question here.
I'm here with Dr. Arlene Taylor, brain specialist, and you just have written some articles and have some new research on Alzheimer's disease. What I've heard people say that there's no cure for Alzheimer, but you're saying that there's still a way for us to prevent the onset of Alzheimer's. What are you learning?
That's a scary topic because if there's one thing people do not want, it's Alzheimer's. And everybody probably already knows this, but there's a body of brain dysfunctions called dementias. Yeah. And Alzheimer's is probably responsible for 60 or 70% of that. And, really? And it's interesting to me that women are much more likely to get Alzheimer's disease, while men are much more likely to get those other types of dementia. Yeah. Well, for 30 years or so, I've been tracking every research I can find on Alzheimer's, and it was always the same thing. If you got the gene, it's just a matter of time you're going to die of Alzheimer's. There's not a thing you can do. There is absolutely no cure. It's hopeless. Well, there were some wonderful brains out there, Roy, who said, we've been saying there's no cure for 30 years. Okay, I'm willing to believe there's no cure. But if there's no cure, can we do anything to prevent it? And they started doing research. And last fall was the first papers that I saw come out. And I don't know if it's ever been published in a book yet because there's still a lot of it going on. But in a nutshell, the conclusion of the studies that have been done so far is that Alzheimer's for some people may occur because they've got a familial genetic predisposition. But if you are living an anti-Alzheimer's lifestyle, it might be many more years before it hits you. And when it does, the symptoms may be slower developing. Okay, I'm reading this stuff and I'm going, wow. Yeah. And the bottom line is, in most cases, Alzheimer's is a lifestyle disease.
So what are the lifestyle choices that you can make that would prevent Alzheimer's?
Well, I probably would do better if I had my article in front of me because I'm learning this stuff.
By the way, is your article available on your website?
Yeah. It's on my website.
So go to arlenetaylor.org to read this article that you just published. Where was it published?
I published it on my website. On your website.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Because most people aren't going to really understand the rhetoric from the
or go
abstract
to the American Medical Journal of Medicine.
Basically, Alzheimer's appears to be triggered by inflammation in the brain. Now, when you cut your finger, we keep coming back to this. Yeah. The heat and the swelling and the redness and the pain is because the immune system is filling the area with white blood cells. And it's getting rid of the inflammation, the heat and the swelling and so on. Well, anything that causes inflammation in the brain is not a good thing. And there are things that you can be aware of to reduce inflammation. For example, there are some additives to foods that create brain inflammation, like monosodium glutamate. So anything that creates inflammation in the brain puts you at higher risk for developing dementia because the inflammation somehow seems to promote the development of the plaques and tangles.
Yeah.
So one of the things that hit me was I have loved balsamic vinegar.
Mm-hmm.
I just love to get, healthy sourdough bread and olive oil and balsamic, and I can make a whole meal of it.
Yeah.
Well, that was in the past. I thought I would really miss not having it.
So it causes inflammation in the brain?
It contains acetate. And any vinegars contain acetate. And acetate promotes these tangles. So I thought, oh man, I'm going to really miss balsamic vinegar. But then I thought I might also miss Alzheimer's. So, there's really no question here.
Yeah.
And I was surprised how fast I don't crave it anymore.
Yeah.
Another thing that's really important, apparently, is aluminum.
Yes.
According to the research, every brain with Alzheimer's that they have tested had high levels of aluminum in it. Now, they don't know if the Alzheimer's somehow attracted aluminum to it, or if the aluminum triggered the Alzheimer's, but it's not a good combination.
Yeah.
So I no longer use tinfoil because it's been shown that tinfoil directly against food, some of the, it can leach out into the food.
Wow.
I don't use aluminum pans anymore unless they're covered with ceramic that doesn't let anything, leach in. And so there's a whole list of things, and
it's antiperspirants, I think, is one of the
antiperspirants are terrible.
Yeah.
They've got aluminum in them.
Yeah.
And fortunately, long before, I used to use deodorant with aluminum in it. I mean, I'm supposed to smell decent.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you're sweating...
By the way, you smell amazing today.
What a thing to say on.
Yes. Well, just people that were probably wondering. But no, the nice thing is these companies are actually coming out with deodorants and antiperspirants without aluminum in them now, which is wonderful. I switched years ago just simply because I had heard the connection.
30 years ago.
Yeah.
I was, because when I was first lecturing and terrified and, can't imagine why they asked me to come and speak to them, I would perspire just like, summer rain. But then I read somewhere that not that aluminum was bad for you, but that it tend to clog the pores under your arms. And you really don't want to clog any of those pores. So I quit and I got the ground up, I don't know, some kind of crystal or something. So back then we knew some things, but not anything like we do today. Yeah.
So in your new research, what's something that surprised you the most about what's coming out about how Alzheimer's is preventable?
Well, I think that I was amazed just about the two things we've talked about, the aluminum and the inflammation.
Yeah.
Dehydration is really bad for the brain.
Yeah.
And dehydration can cause inflammation. And what happens when we don't drink enough water is that the brain cells themselves begin to shrink because there's not enough fluid inside. And then that pulls it away from the skull. Hello. Biggest cause of headaches for most people.
Really? Just being dehydrated?
Just being dehydrated.
Yeah. So I was joking with some of our friends the other day because, at school, the moms are, do you have your water bottle? And my parents never asked if I had a water bottle. I mean, we drank from the hose in the front yard.
Exactly.
It tasted like the rubber hose, and we were fine. And no one asked, have you drank enough water? And yet today, it's probably because of all the research of understanding all the issues if you're not properly hydrated. But it is interesting today just to see how everyone has to have a water bottle or, some way to make sure they're staying hydrated throughout the day.
Ongoing dehydration is linked with dementia.
Really?
So, and this is the other part. The organs of the body know who's in charge. You know, Henry Ford, I think it was, who said, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Yeah.
And that has everything to do with your belief system. So if you believe that you need to drink a certain amount of water, regardless of whether you're thirsty, because thirst begins to fall off about age 50,
really,
then you've got all this dehydration stuff going on here. And so the body knows that if the brain dies, they're history.
Yeah.
Because, you know, your body is just to carry your brain around, most people would say. And I think that's partly true. So if you're dehydrated and the brain you're not drinking, or you're drinking a diuretic, you know, sodas and colas and stuff. Yeah. Your brain will send out a message and it will say, I need fluid. And at any given time, where is the most likely collection of fluid in your body?
I have no idea.
Yes, you do. It's in your bladder.
Oh, it's ready to go. It's on its way out.
So the bladder will dehydrate urine so that it can send a supply of fluid up to the brain, literally. And then you have just become a pea brain. Yeah. And it's not good for your brain, and it's not doing anything for giving, you know, you plenty of. So hydration is so critical, because if it'll dampen down the inflammation, it's like putting water on the fire. Yeah. And another thing is sleep. Sleep is independently linked with longevity, period. Yeah. And because of the electric light, gaming, you know, iPhones,
television,
everything that's electronic, we don't get the sleep that we did before this happened. And most of America is sleep deprived. Yeah. And I've had to really work with that, because I thought I was a night owl, because I did most of my writing and research and everything late at night, and I'd go to bed 1 o'clock in the morning, and then I'd, you know, try to get 7 hours sleep, and I had to make some changes. Yeah. So I'm in bed by 10. I need 9 hours, which blew my mind when I actually figured that out. 1 hour of sleep before midnight is worth 3 hours of sleep after midnight.
Why is that?
Because something goes on early in the sleep. You know, your brain never sleeps. You know that. Right. In fact, it's more active at night than it is during the day. Never sleeps. But it's doing housekeeping chores for us. It's fixing the immune system cells that have a glitch in them. It is creating a whole lot more of the glial cells, the helper cells that keep the neurons alive, and on and on and on. And that apparently works best in the hours before midnight. And so the metaphor for that is you've hired somebody to clean your house, and they figure it's going to take, let's say, 8 hours. And so they come and they work on your house for 8 hours and go home, and they do that pretty regularly for a few weeks, and then they decide they're going to leave an hour early. Now they're only there 7 hours. And there's this batch of household duties that never get done. Yeah. Then they come the next day and they're already behind an hour, and they want to leave at 7 again, so now they're 2 hours behind, and it's real. And I'm doing so much better since I'm giving my brain the sleep it needs.
Yeah. I've had to shift when I say, because I used to be a night owl as well. I'd spend 2 hours writing at night, trying to get the books done and get everything, that I couldn't get done during the interruptions during the office hours. And yeah, I get so much more done now, and I'm in bed sometimes by 9:30, just simply because I know the value of even how good I'm going to be the next day. But talk about the water, the hydration. I've also read research that says if you're not hydrated enough, that's why you feel so tired.
Oh, exactly.
Is because you need to hydrate. The other thing I've heard is by the time you feel thirsty, it's already too late. You're already dehydrated. And so you have to drink when you're not thirsty to keep hydrated.
You drink by choice, not by thirst.
Yeah.
See, 1% dehydration and you don't know you're thirsty.
Yeah.
Is a 5% decrease in cognition.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the other thing is also understanding, because I cut out soda several years ago, almost a decade ago. And I think with the longevity, as you're looking at things, no one guesses me my age. No one guesses you your age. It's just because of lifestyle choices like that, which, I mean, who doesn't love soda? I mean, give me a Dr. Pepper any day. I'd love to drink one, but I don't, just simply because I also understand just everything it does to keep me from being my best. And so, yeah, I had to cut out soda, caffeine, all that. And it takes about 3 weeks for your taste buds to change.
Yeah,
and,
if you're lucky too, but somewhere around there.
I'm slower, so it took me 3.
I know,
so, yeah.
But we love you anyway. That's one of the good things my mother did for us for some reason. I mean, she gave us a lot of dairy.
Yeah.
Because she and my dad ate red meat and chicken and so on. And when she was 5 months pregnant with me, she got food poisoning from some, restaurant they ate at.
Yeah.
My dad did not eat the chicken. She did. She was put in the hospital. They told her that she was going to abort me.
Oh, my word.
And she was desperately ill, just desperately. But she survived. I think that was probably kind of hard on me. I tell people I might be bright if that hadn't happened to me, but you deal with the cards that you've got. But but because of the dairy and because I was born with scoliosis.
Were you?
My whole back has got 2 planes of, looks like, circle on a freeway. But anyway, I don't know where that came from.
Yeah.
But because of that, they quit eating any meat. But, cottage cheese is good for you. We had cottage cheese every day of my life.
Yeah.
We had eggs every day of my life. Then I found out much later that probably wasn't a good idea because for certain people that causes inflammation in the brain. And I wouldn't have had to have 2 hip surgeries had I not ever done dairy. It's like the research isn't coming fast enough.
Yeah.
Because we're too soon old and too late smart.
Yeah.
But anyway, I love this new research. Absolutely love it. And I'm doing everything I can to follow that. And you don't look a day older than 30, so you're doing very well.
We'll need to get your eyes checked out right after this.
Well, I probably do need to get glasses.
But I have to say, 53 and a half doesn't feel like what I thought it would. So, yeah, and a half.
Well, and it's partly mindset. I do not know how long I'm going to live. None of us do. Yeah. I do know that I would like to be a super centenarian. I just have this, it'd be fun to be 110, 120.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to happen, and I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
But I do want to do everything I can that's preventive because this is an amazing body.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing on the planet like the human brain.
Yeah.
And no 2 of them are the same. That's what blows me away. Not even identical twins. They do not have identical brains.
Yeah. So the best thing we can do, care for the body so we can care for our mind. And then when you're 110 and you and I are having conversations, you're not like, who are you, young man?
I would reverse that.
Yeah.
Everything starts in the brain.
Yeah.
You take care of your brain first.
Yeah.
And what's good for the brain is good for the body, because there's many things people do that they think are good for their body that are not good for their brain. So I say we got to start with taking care of your brain.